Hi, Guitar Man Schilling here. We're going to be going on to lesson number 4 today, and I'd like to start and introduce you to a blank chord sheet. Okay, and I use these quite a bit. You know, they're handy, especially for beginners when you're writing down reference chords that I've taught you or somebody else has taught you, or ones you're studying on your own. But regardless, the chord sheet looks like this. Okay, so what it is and by the way, where you find this, you go to guitar chord paper. Go to Google, look for guitar chord paper, and when I do that, on about the second one down, the second pick down, it'll say blank chord sheets. Okay, and when you go to that, you should see this layout, and this is printable. Okay, so just hit your print key and go ahead and print 2 or 3 of these out and start working with them. See how you like them. They're really useful as far as I'm concerned. You can see on each form, okay, on each one of these, this particular sheet allows you to write down 1, 2, 3, 4 chords across, 6 down. That's 24 chords on this one sheet, on this one reference sheet. And remember that these things are always laid out the same. The 6th string is over here. That's the heavy E string. The high E string is down here. That's your 1st string. It's always the same. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 strings for a 6-string guitar. You've got the 6 is always over here. The high E always over here. Okay, then you have going up and down. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So each one of these chord forms are only written down with 5 frets showing. Okay, we'll talk about that later. But they're great especially for all the open chords for right now. And later down the line, if you choose to write down a chord that's higher up on the neck, you'd simply write your reference fret over here. Like, let's say you want to start a chord and it starts on the 5th fret. Write down 5 over here, and that means that automatically you're going to start this chord up on the 5th fret, and then the next fret would be the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. So they're easy to deal with. They're very handy. I wrote down a C chord in here just for reference that I showed you in lesson 3, an open C chord, and I darkened it with marker. Usually I use pencil when I'm drawing on these because in case you want to change a chord, you want to rearrange the way it's going to be fingered or whatever, pencil's easy to erase. But these sheets are very useful, and I suggest you print out some and get to use them. So at any rate, you can see right here, by the way, just like I told you, on this C chord that I taught you in lesson 3, it shows, you put a finger down on the 2nd string, 1st fret, the next finger goes down on the 4th string, 2nd fret, the next finger goes down on the 3rd finger would go on the 3rd fret, 5th string. That's your open C chord, okay? And by the way, like on the open C, if you remember from that lesson, I told you, you can play the E, but commonly you don't on an open C chord. So you just put an X up here at the top, and that tells you that that string is not played, okay? So at any rate, that's a good start for these right now. But that's what it looks like. I print some off and get to use them because they're very handy. So at any rate, so much for that. Now, what I'd like you to do is go ahead and go to a bar chord, because bar chords are very powerful. They're very useful in rock. Of course, they're the foundation of playing rhythm in rock is generally bar chords. But regardless, okay, so let's go to what I refer to as the 1st form bar chord. Okay, so it's probably the most played bar chord. But at any rate, it's derived from the open E chord. Now, an open E chord, let's review this. Let's go to the open E just for a second. Now, the open E chord is played with your 1st finger on the 3rd string, 1st fret. 3rd finger on the 2nd fret, 4th string. And your 2nd finger on the 2nd fret, 5th string. So it looks just like this. And you play all the strings. Open E chord. 1st fret, 3rd string, 1st finger. 4th string, 2nd fret, 3rd finger. 5th string, 2nd fret, 2nd finger. Okay, and that's what it looks like. Now, I don't want to confuse you, but that's the way you'll commonly play the open E chord. Whether, like if you're going on the 3rd lesson, B, C, E. Okay, so you'll play it like that, most commonly. Now, but for reference, let's switch it around and let's play it with the second fingers, fourth, and third fingers. Okay, so now it's played like this. We're going to leave this finger open, and I'm going to show you why. So that's our open E. Now, when it comes to this first form bar chord, all you're doing to make the chord is you're sliding that E chord up one fret, and you're laying that. You're barring this entire, all the strings on that first fret for the F chord. Now we've changed the E. We've brought it up one fret, and now we're playing it. We're barring the first fret. We still got our basic E chord here, but we're barring the first fret, which turns it into an F. Now, what's unique about this chord for beginners here? Now, this is very valuable. So you've got your E, you go to the F. What happens when you move it up again? F sharp. And you know your sharps and flats, we talked about them in lesson 3. The flat lowers, sharp raises. So this is either an F sharp right here, F sharp, or since this is a G note, that's the root note, by the way, of the chord. So this is a G, so this could be an F sharp or a G flat on the second fret. Now, I didn't want to skip over that. Now the root note of the chord, what the chord is derived from, okay? So this, the open E, is the root note. So that's why this is an E chord when it's played open, because E is the root note. When you bring it up to here and you bar all those, now the root note is right here on the bass string at F, you know, and that's the F note. So it's an F chord. Okay, we're going to study a little bit of chord theory later, so you understand how these chords are made up. But let's just stay simple for now. Let's keep it simple. So now you're going to need to know the notes on the bass string at least to be able to know what chord you're on. Now remember, the notes are E, F, second fret F sharp, third fret G, fourth fret G sharp, or A flat, whatever you want to call it. Next note A sharp, B, C is on the 8th fret, C sharp, 9th fret, D, 10th fret, D sharp, 11th, and then we're back to E at the 12th fret. Remember? E, 12th fret. It's just an octave apart, just like we talked about in the earlier lesson. So, very important to learn those. E is open, F sharp, G sharp, A on the 5th fret, 6th fret, A sharp, 7th fret, B, 8th fret, C, 9th fret, C sharp, 10th fret, D, 11th fret, D sharp, and 12th fret back to E. Okay, so study those notes because you need to know them so you know what chord you're on when you're playing your bar chord here, your first form bar. Let's do it again. We're going to start with the E chord. We're going to move it up one fret. Now what have we got? I already showed you how to play the E chord with those fingers, with the second, fourth, and third fingers. Now, keep it going. You're going to move it all, you're going to move the whole chord up one fret and bar all the strings, okay? Now, this takes some work, especially for beginners. This takes work to get this chord down. It's a little touchy. Some people it takes months and months to get it down. It all depends on how much you practice and how easy your guitar is to play too. So, at any rate, so F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, and back to E. Okay, so E open, E on the 12th fret. A little hard to play up there in that register, it's pretty high. But anyway, that's same chord, it's just an octave apart. Okay, so any rate, so we've just learned a bunch of chords. How many is that? That's 12 chords, all the way up the neck. Okay, so you can, you know, you can see how valuable that is. Now, so see, that's a chord that after I show it to you, you can write down on your chord sheet, and you don't always have to go back to the computer to watch a lesson. You can look at the chord right off the sheet, and And so now the valuable thing about these bar chords is let's go up. We started at E, we went F, F sharp, G. Well, let's hang on the G for a minute. That's a comfortable position. Okay, so G bar chord. Okay. Now we know how do we know it's a G bar chord? We just talked about it, okay? Because we know our bass string notes, E, F, F sharp, G. I told you that on your first finger, at your first finger, the bass string, that is the root note of the chord. Okay, so we know that that is a G chord. Okay, and commonly on your, if you choose to put this down, I'd get used to it. On your chord sheet, they typically designate the root note of a chord by, instead of a round circle, by a diamond. You know, they'll put like a diamond there, and so whenever you look at a chord, without actually studying it, you go, oh, there's the root note. I remember learning it. That is the root note of the chord. So that's how you designate that on your chord sheets, by a diamond. Okay, you know, just a four-cornered sideways box. So, at any rate, so now let's get on with it. A G chord, a G bar chord. Now, the unique thing about this chord is you can make your minors and sevenths and sixths, you know, all those chords from this chord very easily. So if you lift up your second finger, you've got a minor. So now what do you know? Now you know all your minors on this first form bar chord. So let's go down. This is an E minor. When you lift the finger off of the third string, okay, now you've got it. So if you play an E and you lift up that finger, now you've got an E minor. And when you play your bar chord, when you lift up that second finger, you've got a minor chord, so that's an F minor. And so instead of this being an F, you lift up your finger, F minor. Let's go back up to the G. Well, F minor, and you understand, F sharp minor, G minor, G sharp minor, A minor, A sharp minor, B minor, C minor. Remember? Okay, all the way up. Now, so now we've just learned all our minor chords. You can see how valuable this is, this chord. Major chord, minor chord. Hear the difference? Okay, so minor chord. Now, if you put the E chord back together there, you know, your E form chord, put it back where it was. So now we're playing our standard G chord, our G bar chord. Okay, now lift up your fourth finger. Now what do you have? You got a seventh chord. Sounds different. Major, seventh. Okay, so what you do, all you do is you lift up your fourth finger and you got it. Okay, so now what do we know? F seventh, F sharp seventh, G seventh, G sharp seventh, A seventh, A sharp seventh, B seventh, C seventh, right up the neck. Beautiful, huh? Beautiful chord to know. So now we know our majors, we know our minors, we know our sevenths. Okay, just by lifting up the different fingers. Minor, lift up your second finger. Seventh, lift up your fourth finger. Okay, now guess what? Minor seventh. What do? You lift up your second and your fourth finger. You still got them all barred, but you just have one finger. You have your third finger down. Okay, in this case, on the 5th fret, 5th string, for the G minor 7th. Okay, let's go back down to an F bar chord. You lift up the second finger, the fourth finger, F minor 7th, F sharp minor 7th, G minor 7th, G sharp minor 7th, A minor 7th. I know you're getting it by now, it's simple. Okay, A sharp minor 7th, B minor 7th, C minor 7th, C sharp minor 7th, right up the neck. Okay, so we know now. What did we just learn in this lesson? We've learned let's go to our G chord. We've got our G major. We've got our G 7th. We've got our G minor. We've got our G minor 7ths. And so there's 12 chords for each one of those going up the neck. We've learned our majors, our minors, our 7ths, our minor 7ths. That's 4 times 12. That's 48 different chords off of this one bar chord. Okay, you're getting it. I know you are. So let me see what kind of time we got going. Okay, we're just about at the end of this lesson. So I want you to work on those bar chords hard, and I also want to leave you with this thought. You know, instead of, for the guitarists that want to get somewhere, and maybe for the ones that are might get a little frustrated thinking, I'm not getting anywhere, I feel like I'm not going as far as I should be by now. Well, if you're spending a half an hour in your guitar lesson, and you're watching 2.5 hours of TV, or 2 hours of TV, you know, TV is almost useless. Why not rearrange it? Let's do the 2 hours on guitar, you know, half hour on TV, and you get the idea. I mean, the time that's wasted by a TV set, it's tremendous. So, at any rate, you know, it's going to come down to how much work you're spending on it. I suggest spending a lot of time on your art. You know, art being the guitar work. That's what we're learning here, right? So, you know, put the effort in. You're gonna find it'll show. It'll show when you're playing. If you just play around with it, and that's fine if that's what you want to do. But you know, you'll learn eventually. But if you really want to get somewhere, put the time in, and you know, really put your heart into it, and you'll find it'll pay off in the long run. So that's about the end of this lesson, because that's plenty to work on. It's going to take some of you a long time to get down this bar properly. It's hard to finger it correctly because this bar, it's hard to get all those strings pushed down. Now remember, you don't have to be so concentrated on pushing down all the strings, and you'll see, because you're already playing, you've already got your fingers playing the notes on the third, fourth, and fifth string. Those are already taken care of. So you just have to concentrate on pushing hard down on the sixth string and the last two, okay? So, at any rate, you know, the first, second, and sixth, that's really what your finger barring the strings is taking care of. These three right here are already taken care of, okay? So work on it and see how you do.